If you're gonna watch a secular movie, it should have those three things.
I'd say at least one of those three.
Yeah.
Preferably all of those three.
Father, thank you for this time. Help us to use our tongues to glorify you. In Jesus' name I pray, amen.
Amen.
Shane, I've been seeing a lot of your Letterboxd reviews lately.
Mm-hmm.
I have not given in to downloading Letterboxd because I am not a movie fanatic. But
Yes, it is only for people who watch a good amount of movies.
I mean, the first time I ever saw your Letterboxd review was like a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And my respect for you went up. Like at least 2 times.
Very
I'm
nice.
not even kidding.
Very nice.
I was like, man, Shane is so eloquent.
Yeah, okay.
Describe to the people what Letterboxd
Okay,
is.
so Letterboxd is a social. Can you call it social media? A social app where you can track your friends and what movies they're seeing, and you could see how they rate those movies, and they have the choice to also review the movies. They can write like a review, and they can make like rankings, lists. It's basically just a movie social app. So, you know, I just recently got Letterboxd like maybe 2 months ago, because I've always been into movies, but I never thought about like reviewing them or ranking them. And then I remember I was just watching a movie one day, and I'm like, where would this rank on a list, like with other movies? And I'm like, okay, well, Letterboxd can rank them. So I go on Letterboxd and I start ranking all these movies. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll review these movies because Owen followed me, and like some other people are followed me because I guess you get a notification of like your contact is on Letterboxd. So I'm like, okay, well, I have people who follow me now. I'm going to just actually write reviews. So it got to the point where pretty much for every movie I see, I now give it a rating and then I review it. And those reviews vary from me just like messing around, and I'll say like a joke from the movie or something. I'll just write in the review, or I'll just real quick, like for the new Buzz Lightyear movie, all my review was like good animation, mediocre story, okay movie. That's all I put because like I didn't care about the movie too much to just do it. But then there are other movies, like movies that I actually really love, or I don't love too much, but I feel like something needs to be said about it, or like a warning. For those movies, I put like 5 to 10 minutes into writing, like just a 4-paragraph review. And some of them I do ramble a little. I'm human. I'm not perfect in that regard. But I guess for the ones you saw, I actually put like effort into it, and I try to eloquently, go into detail about what makes this movie so good for me.
I guess by me saying I respected you more, I don't think that's really what it was. I think it just kind of, in my head, I always just, like it seemed like every time I called you, you're watching a movie. You're like, bro, I can't talk. I'm in a cinema.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, man, he's watching a lot of movies, but I didn't know what you were doing with that. I didn't know if you were processing it or if you just enjoyed relaxing and watching movies. But once I saw that, I was like, man, this is legit.
Yeah.
He's actually thinking when he's watching these
Oh,
movies.
yeah. I don't like, people say like, I watch movies to like turn my brain off and just focus on it. And occasionally, like if I've seen a movie before, yeah, I'll just turn my brain off. I'll just enjoy what I'm seeing. But I like to get something out of movies and like, understand the craft that went into it, especially considering like I want to be in this film industry. So, I focus on like the cinematography or like the music behind it and like, okay, like how does this affect my viewing experience, or like did this need to happen? Could you have done something different here? So yeah, not very recently, but like for the past year, every time I see a movie, I do view it in a way where it's like I view it in a more serious way than I used to. I'll say that.
And you think you view it more seriously because you want to be in that field?
Yeah,
okay.
No, that's why. Yeah, because I have to understand like what works and what doesn't work. Because if I want to be in that field, like I don't want to be bad. I would like to, leave a mark or do something different, but at the same time, do something good that people would enjoy.
And what would that ideal job be?
So right now it's between either directing or producing movies. Directing, it's pretty obvious. Like you pick the shots, that's more cinematography is like the background of the shots, but directing is like you basically run the show around there. Like you like run everything, be like, yeah, this is good. I don't know about that, or let's try this, or I have a certain vision, I need you to do A, B, and C in order for that vision to work. That's a director. A producer basically pitches the movie and manages the team of the movie to make sure everyone's just doing their job. They don't tell them how to do their job, they're just making sure they're doing it correctly. So it's like management. Producing is more like managing, directing is more like being a group leader, like a creative leader. Yeah. So it's between those two. Between those two.
So, what would you say makes a good movie, or what sort of elements do you need?
Well, first off, I think acting is very important in a movie.
Really?
I think you could have an incredible story, like incredible visuals, incredible cinematography, but if your lead star or your lead stars plural are just terrible and like it could really bring you out of a movie. So I guess that leads me to the next point. A good movie needs to keep you engaged. If like throughout the movie you're like, okay, like let me check my phone, or we got an hour left, and then there are just parts of a movie like the cinematography, the music. There are just those segments of a movie that like have to be up to par, and fit for the tone of the movie. Like it can't go over. It can't be like if you're watching let's say it's just a movie about your life, Max.
Okay.
And like a character study, and the director decides to go like super over the top. Like, oh, I'm gonna put fireworks every time he gets a good grade, or I'm gonna play like opera music when he's entering a room or something. Like that doesn't really fit with the tone, right? Yeah. So another thing that makes a movie good is like every single aspect that goes into it fits the tone and the story that the film is trying to tell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying whenever you make your movie, you set a lane, or you set kind of a frame for it. So don't branch too far off of the plan.
Don't try to make like 3 different movies into one. Going back to the example of like a movie about you, don't try to make it like a coming of age story or like a really upbeat movie if it's like a character study, because character studies are usually sort of dark or like serious. So like don't throw things in a pot and see if it works. Like put some ingredients that you think work for the meal. Mix it up. Make it good. Don't just throw random things in it. So I'll say that.
Don't just grab all the spices.
Don't just grab all the spices and dump it in. Pick
the ones that
pepper.
match.
The ones that match what you're trying to make. Yes.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were kind of talking about truth, goodness, and beauty.
Yeah.
Do those 3 things need to be in a movie for you to like them? For you to like the movie?
They don't need to be in it for me to like it. I could still enjoy a movie that doesn't have any of those things. But if truth, goodness, and beauty are indeed in the movie, I care more for it, and I could tell that like the creators and the people working on it cared more while making it.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll say that. I don't think they need to be in every movie though. I think some people like I don't know, like the Transformer movie, like Michael Bay, he probably just is like, I just want to make like explosions and robots. And like that's fine, like you do you, but like no one really likes those movies, I'll just say that. So I mean
you feel like you get more out of the movies that contain those 3 qualities.
Yeah, but if a film doesn't have those 3, I could still enjoy it.
But I don't know how a movie couldn't contain some degree of those 3 qualities.
Well, I mean, look at I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. You might have to look at like 50 Shades of Grey. Like, you think that movie has truth, goodness, or beauty in it?
I think it could say something true about reality.
Maybe every movie has one of those 3 aspects.
Yes, but when it possesses all 3.
Yeah, but only, I won't say a few, but only a certain amount of movies have like all 3. And all 3 together combined are what make you care more. So yeah, I'll agree with you. I think some movies I think every movie contains at least one. One of the 3.
Very nice.
Yes.
But some movies contain all 3.
Yes.
At varying levels, but that you can vividly see all 3 of them.
Yes.
What is that movie to you? Or name one movie that possesses all 3 of those qualities.
Oh, all 3.
Very vividly.
Truth, goodness. First off, do you want to define truth, goodness, and beauty?
Very good.
Yes.
I think truth is just, I guess, the way things really are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like a realistic approach to something.
Or more so just like says something about reality or reality itself.
Okay.
like the Bible is true. It's saying things that are true about reality, things that have happened before, and things that are true about just true.
Okay.
Okay. And now goodness, I think, is anything that is done the way God intended it to be is good.
Okay.
I don't know if that's actually.
That might be harder to put into words for a movie, but yeah.
But you can kind of
We
feel it.
we
You're
could try.
That was good.
Yeah. Okay.
Or that was a good thing they did.
Yeah. Okay.
And
yeah.
the beauty could be visually, but I think beauty could also just be like, for me, when I think of beauty, you could also be like, oh man, the way God arranged that in my past. Or I guess a story arc can be kind of beautiful. The way somebody progresses and matures and becomes humble is very beautiful. So I guess character development is beautiful to me, and just like visual things as well, music.
Got it. I've been talking for most of this pod, so I'll have you go first for this one.
Okay. So what fits those three criteria that I very poorly defined?
Yeah, it's okay. I think you defined it well.
Okay.
I get what you're trying to say.
I really like Up.
Okay.
The Disney Pixar film of, I believe that it maybe 2005, 2006?
Like 2010.
I don't think so.
Can I check?
No.
Okay.
We'll put it up on screen.
Okay, got it. It's got to be 2010 though. 2008, 2010. Those are my guesses.
Okay, mine is 2006.
Maybe. Okay. Keep going.
So Up is, if you don't know, is a movie about a young boy. Okay, first of all, it's a boy meets a girl. Okay.
Classic.
This boy is kind of antisocial, and then he meets this kind of eccentric, wild, super fun girl.
Opposites attract.
And they both have this sort of plan together, or they kind of make a promise with one another that they will go to this place. I believe it's in South America. Or,
I don't remember.
I don't know. It's this place called Paradise Falls.
Okay.
Hypothetical, not real place.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah, it's not.
And they basically grow up. They both, I guess, as they grow up, they both still have this goal of going to Paradise Falls, but they're saving up money. But then eventually they get older and older and it doesn't happen. And the wife actually dies. Ellie dies, and now Mr. Carl Fredricksen is very sad.
As he should be.
Now it
Rightfully
cuts to a scene where it's Mr. Fredricksen, and his whole entire area is getting sort of flipped, and he's refusing to offer his piece of land, kind of showing his stubbornness in a very low-key way. And then he eventually meets this boy named Russell.
Oh, Russell.
He is a wilderness explorer.
Boy Scout as well, right? Isn't he a Boy Scout?
He's a Boy Scout.
He's a Boy Scout,
That's
yes.
a wilderness explorer.
Yes.
Shout out to Russell.
I love Russell. Actually, one of my favorite Pixar or Disney
Characters.
characters. I'm dead serious.
And then
Russell's the GOAT.
Eventually, Fredricksen decides to actually finally go to Paradise Falls. He puts a bunch of balloons on his house because he was a balloon maker as a profession. And they go to Paradise Falls, go through this whole entire journey. But Mr. Fredricksen is attached to his house and Ellie, and he won't let the past go.
So that's a main theme throughout the movie as well.
Yes, this is the very core theme, in my opinion, that makes it very Christian. Obviously, there's very non-Christian elements, like him talking to his dead wife.
So worldly things.
Yeah, or just not right
Yeah.
things. But this part where he's finally letting go of the past and letting go of material things, and sort of moving on, and letting go of material things, but also moving on from mourning his wife's death.
Yeah.
I think that's really interesting. For example, Joseph, from the Bible story, Joseph, he had his brothers do a bunch of really bad stuff to him, sell him off to slavery, and he named his first son Manasseh, which means essentially, I let that stuff go.
Okay.
So he let that stuff go. He forgave his brothers. He moved on. And I think that's really something that Up perpetuates. Fredricksen is letting stuff go and moving on to something new, a new life with Russell, and kind of hanging out in this new phase of his 80s.
Very nice.
In his seniorhood. And I think it's really, really cool to just kind of get to see somebody no longer hold on to what is material. Obviously, he adapts to holding on to his relationships, which are good, but he doesn't end up going all the way to God. But it is cool to see somebody go through the process of letting go of something and moving on to something new. And I think that is very beautiful in the sense that his character develops, he becomes more humble and learns that lesson. And also, it's very good, it's very true. It's the way God designed it for us to move on after somebody died. We mourn their loss, but then we have to move on. Okay, one more thing.
Go for it.
I recently watched Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
And they both do something really cool.
Okay.
Up and Lord of the Rings have a very direct parallel. And I believe it's also something that really good movies do. They both go in between, back and forth, really sentimental, really warm tones on the screen, and really cold tones and kind of violent situations that are really intense, high intensity, anxiety-filled situations, which is also something very true about our life on Earth. There's back and forth between hills and valleys. Obviously, in the hills and the valleys, we have God, contrary to Lord of the Rings and Up. But that is also something very interesting that
nice.
I think about.
Okay.
That's very cool about Up. Thank you very much.
Okay, my turn?
Yes. It's your
Okay.
turn.
So when I was thinking about a movie, at first some indie films came to mind, some smaller known films, but then I started thinking, well, let me pick a blockbuster. Let me pick a big budget movie that a lot of people may know about, just so I could show that even the big blockbuster movies can show like truth, goodness, and beauty. So I thought about it, and I actually ended up picking Man of Steel.
What?
Yes.
Bro, I thought you were going to do Batman.
I did too, but then I'm like, well, that's too. I'll mention Batman later. I started picking Man of Steel because I rewatched it a couple days ago, and it has a lot of symbolism to Jesus, a lot more symbolism than I remembered. So, for the truth aspect, but first let me just summarize let me describe Man of Steel. So, Man of Steel is like the most recent Superman movie. Everyone knows Superman. But this movie takes a more realistic approach to how people react to like this God above man, this godlike figure, which is Superman. Because, in past iterations, like Superman's all happy, everyone automatically loves Superman, he just saves the day all the time. But in the real world, like what happened in the Bible when Jesus came, like this God above man, not everyone agreed with it. Not everyone liked how like this higher being was with us. And this was the first Superman movie to sort of deal with that topic, because throughout the movie, there's an inner conflict between like Superman where like not the world doesn't want me here, but at the same time, like I need to do this. I need to like save the day.
Very nice, Shane.
Yes. So that's the truth aspect, is like how society can react to like a godlike figure. And I think the film captured that perfectly. But surprisingly, not a lot of people liked that aspect of the movie. They preferred the old like happy Superman, an unrealistic approach. And then beauty. Say what beauty was again.
I don't know, just like visually, sonically.
Visually, okay.
Appeasing or
okay.
Enjoyable.
I mean, visually. I mean, you've seen it. The movie looks like it's visually pretty excellent, I would say.
Not a very good LUT on it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's a little bit cold-toned.
Yeah. I think that fits with its more serious approach, though. Serious tone. Like I was saying earlier, you have to find visual styles that fit with the tone of the movie. I think this was I'd say one of the darker, comic book movies. So I think a darker color tone probably fit with it. Me personally, I think that. Okay, then beauty. I mean, it had so goodness. I talked about how it showed how like Superman's character was sort of similar to Jesus's character and like how their life went. But for beauty, I guess there are shots in the movie that sort of replicate
God's creation.
Okay, there's a scene in the movie where there's this Zod is the villain, okay? And he has this big machine called, I think, the Terraformer or something. And he's shooting a beam down, like, in the middle of Earth somewhere that's supposed to, like, destroy Earth, right? And Superman is there. He's at the bottom of the beam. And there's this really cool scene where he has to fly up the beam that's constantly shooting at him and, like, hit the terraforming machine. And it's this really cool scene where you see him struggling, right? And then he thinks back about, like, all the people he's met. And then all of a sudden he flies up, and it's this really, like, uplifting scene where he finally does it. And to me, like, visually, that was really powerful because it showed how, like, Jesus was willing to do anything, right? To, like, forgive us of our sins and be there for us. And I guess it was the same for Superman here, where, like, he was getting beat. Like, not as bad as Jesus, of course, but, like, he was done pretty much. And then it's just this really powerful scene where he does it. Like, he remembers everything he's here for, finally does it, and, like, destroys this machine, and, like, really uplifting music is playing.
And he's sacrificing himself.
Because he, technically in the movie, at that scene, he dies. Technically. But, like, because of the Superman lore and stuff, like, if the sun's near him, it heals him again. So I guess that's the beauty of it for me, that one scene in particular. There are more that I just can't think of right now, but yeah, I'd say that's the beauty aspect of it.
Shane,
yes.
Do you think you can watch any movie as a Christian? Should you watch
every movie?
Should you be able to?
Well, like at my age or like at any point in time? Like a 5-year-old shouldn't watch like a rated R movie.
Why?
Well, for one thing, they just won't get it.
Okay.
And I think it could sort of corrupt their mind at that point. Like, let's say a 5-year-old saw a movie with nudity in it.
Okay.
Like, that would mess them up, right? But if I were, let's say, like a 16-year-old guy, like what I am now, and I see a movie with nudity in it, like, it wouldn't mess up my mind too much.
Okay. And the basis for that argument is that now that you've matured...
Now that you've matured, like, you took biology, like, you know what this is, right?
So it's more of that perspective, less so the perspective that you've been matured and you've been able to sort of discern that and not let it affect you.
The second thing, like what you just said, I'm able to not let it affect me mentally.
Okay.
But in terms of like what a film has to offer and whether or not it has truth, goodness, and beauty, should you limit what you watch? I say yes, you should limit what you watch, but like not on like crazy levels. Like, let's say there's this movie that like supports Satanism or is like really satanic or like has a lot of demons in it. I sort of avoid those kind of movies. I feel like that's just not. I just feel like you can't
It's
get
too
it.
overt.
It's too overt, and I personally can't get anything out of those other than like it's just like a movie about Satan or about like the devil or something, or movies that try to paint a picture of the devil. And I also think you should avoid movies that make fun of Jesus. Like there were, I saw this on Twitter, but I don't know if this was real. Apparently, like a movie where Jesus was drunk and like just a total jerk to people, and it was like a comedy. It's like, well, like what do you get out of that?
Yeah,
nothing. But I think you should only avoid the movies that like either support Satan or have a bunch of demons and stuff, or movies that make fun of Jesus. In terms of like movies that are just like raunchy humor and stuff. I think you're good to watch those because, like, especially if you're in the industry, like, you have to see everything you can to like see what works, what doesn't. Because I mean, there are some movies critically that have really raunch, like Superbad. Let's say Superbad. That's like really violent humor, really crude humor, but like people love that movie, like critically and commercially. Like that movie did well, so it's like you could get something out of that. You could see what they did right.
Yeah.
So I think you could watch those. Yeah. So yeah, not a crazy limitation for what you can and can't watch, but I think there should be like a line that you draw. At least personally, I would.
Yeah. I think you have to be careful about what you consume in terms of content. I think you have to, I guess, observe or evaluate yourself very soberly and be like, how does that affect me?
Mm-hmm.
I would say I wasn't able to watch a ton of movies like a year ago, but now I would say I'm pretty comfortable watching a lot more.
I agree with that. I actually agree with what you just said. How like it, you have to think about yourself.
You're like don't try to lie to yourself. If that actually affected you in a very negative way,
that is a very good point.
Don't do that again.
That is a very good point.
But as you, I guess, mature and you're able to see more things, hopefully to, I guess, add to your repertoire to create something that's to glorify God. You'll be able to slowly watch more things. But at a certain point, I don't know how helpful it is to watch certain things.
Yeah. Because maybe you've seen that kind of movie.
Yeah.
Like maybe you don't need to see.
Yeah, there's certain things you don't need to be seeing.
Yeah.
But there's certain movies that have elements that are good and elements that are very bad.
Yeah, I'd say a way to summarize what you were saying, like take it at your own pace.
Sure.
I guess that's a good way of saying it. Like know your boundaries.
Mm-hmm. And get some advice from your parents or people around you, and they'll be like, "Hey, you're kind of weird after that movie."
And like there are websites as well where it's like where it you type in a movie and it says like, what kind of people should avoid this, or there are websites that could sort of help make your decision for you.
But your point about getting inspiration from these heavily secular movies is really interesting. Because that's what most Christian artists do.
Yeah.
Most Christian artists, well, I don't know about most, but a
Christian
artist will say, these are my favorite artists. And a lot of them will be secular.
Yeah, because you can get, you don't have to like an entire, the entirety of a secular movie, but there could be aspects of a secular movie where like, that could work maybe in a Christian context or like in a Christian film.
Yeah. So
I think that applies to any secular entertainment, like music, book, show, movie, anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I don't think you should just write off all secular movies.
But I mean, if that's what you want to do,
at the moment,
if you purely want to watch, Christian movies, go for it.
Yeah,
again, to take it at your own pace.
I agree. I would say like if you can figure out which movies have truth, goodness, and beauty, why would you watch a movie that doesn't over that?
No, I agree with that. Like, should you watch these secular movies that have like nothing to get out of it over these movies that have truth, goodness, and beauty? No, but can you watch the secular movies still? Yeah, I think you could. Yeah, because that was the question. Yeah,
I think my take would be like, if you're gonna watch a secular movie, it should have those three things.
Yeah, I'd say at least one of those three. Yeah, preferably all of those three.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
Thank you for talking about
this
movies.
This was a very interesting topic, Max. I am glad that we talked about this.
We completely went... This was literally just all talking about movies.
This was a last-minute thing as well.
So if y'all liked just like a topical podcast, let us know.
Yeah, we're open. We're open to do stuff like this.
I think it's really interesting.
This was fun, too. This was a fun time.
All right.
Okay.
Well...